This is a masterpiece known as the marriage textbook. In an era where divorce rates are high, perhaps everyone should watch this film. The Kramers have been married for 8 years. They've survived the 7-year itch and have a lovely son. Everything seems perfect. But on the day Ted gets a promotion and a raise, his wife Joanna acts out of character. She packs her bags and is determined to leave. Seeing his wife fully prepared to leave, Ted is bewildered. He wants to stop her, grabs her luggage, and tries to talk, but Joanna gives him no chance. She leaves without her bags, just wanting to get out. Ted doesn't know what he did wrong. He doesn't smoke, drink, or stay out late. He's the ideal man in society's eyes, yet his wife leaves. After she leaves, the house feels empty. Ted can't believe she'd abandoned their son. Besides, Joanna is a full-time housewife with no work experience. She'd have nowhere to go but the streets. Ted is sure she'll be back in a few days. The next morning, Ted is woken by his son. With Joanna gone, he has to cook, but he's unfamiliar with the kitchen and quickly makes a mess, even burning his hand. He rushes to get his son to school, already late. Ted's boss is unhappy with his tardiness. Upon learning it's due to marital issues, he suggests Ted send his son to his parents so he can focus on work. But Ted feels he's neglected Joanna and believes she'll return in a few days. Besides, his son needs his father now more than ever. But taking care of a child isn't as easy as he thought. Joanna used to play with their son, but Ted is too busy with work to pay attention. One day, his son accidentally spills a drink, ruining Ted's work. Frustrated, Ted yells at him. Over the next week, Ted tries to be a good father, but it's not going well. When a letter arrives, Ted hopes it's Joanna returning, but it's divorce papers. In the letter, Joanna states that she's a mother, but also an independent person. She doesn't want to be confined to one role and wants to pursue her own life. Their son, Billy, doesn't understand these words. He only knows his mother abandoned him, so he turns up the volume to hide his sadness. Ted notices his son's change and, to avoid being surrounded by sadness, packs all of Joanna's belongings and puts them in storage. Ted juggles work and picking up his son from daycare. Sometimes he works late or skips company events, but he forgets to pick up his son this time. After the 7-year itch, the loving couple reaches the end. Joanna doesn't want to be a housewife forever and leaves to pursue a new life. Ted is left to care for their son alone. He often forgets to pick him up. This day is no different. Billy is upset and doesn't eat much dinner. Ted doesn't know how to comfort him. That night, after putting Billy to bed, Ted finds a photo of Joanna in Billy's drawer. It turns out Billy misses his mom. Months later, they've adjusted to life without Joanna. Ted is now adept at housework, and Billy helps out a bit. They speak less, but the atmosphere is harmonious. With his son in mind, Ted no longer works late every day. He's learned to make time for Billy. Sometimes Ted wonders if things would have been different if he'd been more considerate when Joanna was around. Over time, Ted grows close to his neighbor, a single mom named Jane. They share parenting tips. Ted once mocked her for being selfish during her divorce, but now he understands how hard it is to be a housewife. Ted works less overtime to care for Billy, which displeases his boss. Frustrated, Ted comes home to find Billy refusing dinner and demanding ice cream. Ted says no, but Billy eats it anyway, angering Ted, who sends him to his room. Billy's cries echo from the room, and Ted is exhausted. After a drink, Ted checks on Billy, who hasn't fallen asleep. Billy apologizes, hoping Ted won't leave him. He thinks his misbehavior drove his mom away. Ted promises he'll always be there and explains the divorce was his fault. Ted realizes he ignored Joanna for too long. She sought comfort and understanding, but he never listened. Now, Ted knows he must be a good father. He tries to be there for every step of Billy's growth, but a small oversight leads to an accident. Billy falls from a playground structure covered in blood. Ted was distracted, flirting, and Billy fell from a height, nearly injuring his eye. Panicked, Ted rushes him to the hospital. As Billy screams in pain while getting stitches, Ted feels guilty, and Jane, the neighbor, is also remorseful. Ted comforts Jane and proposes marriage. Just as Billy recovers and Ted's relationship stabilizes, Joanna reappears after a year and a half asking to meet at a cafe. Unlike a year ago, Joanna looks rejuvenated. She says she's been working as a designer in New York and just returned. She's been secretly watching Billy after school but hasn't approached him. Their conversation is calm, and Joanna explains why she left. She was a wife and mother, but never herself. Joanna realized she had issues and, without Ted's support, wanted to escape her old life. Now that she's earning money, she wants custody of Billy. Hearing this, Ted's face changes. He loves his son and won't give him up. Both hire lawyers, but family matters are hard to judge. The case is tough, requiring them to list each other's flaws to prove unfitness as a guardian. Both are determined to fight to the end. But before the trial, Ted is fired due to his boss's dissatisfaction with his work. Ted immediately searches for a new job. Unfortunately, he's rejected by several companies and has to lower his expectations in salary to find work. Just as Ted breathes a sigh of relief, his lawyer calls, saying Joanna wants to see Billy. It's a reasonable request, so Ted takes Billy to the park. Upon seeing his mother, Billy runs into her arms, leaving Ted behind. The court date arrives, and both sides face off. Joanna states she graduated from a prestigious school, has a stable job, and earns a high salary. In her previous marriage, she lost herself, but now she's confident she can raise Billy well. Her argument is strong, but Ted's lawyer is no pushover. The lawyer argues that Ted had no bad habits or infidelity, yet Joanna still left. Does this mean she's not good at maintaining family relationships? Hearing this, Joanna bursts into tears, realizing that marriage issues are often mutual, not just one-sided. Why don't young people today want to marry? Maybe this film has the answer. Upon release, it won numerous awards and significantly reduced divorce rates. Every couple should watch it. Ted and Joanna, like most, have a comfortable life, following the traditional roles of men working outside and women at home. But after 7 years, love turned to companionship, and Ted became distant. Joanna grew tired of being a housewife and chose divorce. Their child became the biggest victim of the marriage, often facing custody battles between parents. In court, both sides are ruthless. Ted argues that while mothers have maternal love, father's love is no less. He believes he's a good father, but because he once let Billy get hurt, he loses the case, losing both his family and son. Courts usually favor mothers. Hearing the verdict, Ted considers appealing, but when he learns Billy would have to testify, he calms down and decides to give up. On a sunny afternoon, Ted pretends to be relaxed, telling Billy he'll live with his mother. Billy isn't as happy as expected. Hearing this, Billy cries. He loves both parents, and living with either isn't ideal. Before sending Billy off, Ted makes a hearty breakfast and packs all his belongings. Now, he just waits for Joanna to pick him up. The waiting is hard, and hours later, Joanna still hasn't shown up. Finally, she calls, wanting to talk to Ted alone. It turns out she's not ready either. She loves Billy and can't bear to see him adapt to a new environment again. Seeing her pain, Ted realizes they both love Billy deeply. The story doesn't specify who Billy ends up living with, but the ending doesn't matter. In the adult world, love is just a part of life. But in a child's world, love is everything. Besides, the film's analysis of gender roles is progressive. Women shouldn't be confined, and men can return to the family.